Hi there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing something a little bit different, and I am doing a layout share from the past weekend's Secret Not Secret Kit Club retreat in Southern California. So we had a ton of fun. There were I think 14 of us, 13 or 14 of us, and we were there from Thursday afternoon until Sunday afternoon. And the weekend was just full of adventure and fun, getting to know everyone. There were challenges and all kinds of stuff, all kinds of goodies going on. It was amazing. Christina was an amazing host, and she just really outdid herself. So anyway, I'm going to share the layouts that I got done on the trip, and I got 27 layouts done, and this is my first one. If you are a member of the Secret Not Secret Kit Club and participate in their online monthly crops, one of our challenges last month was to scrap lift somebody in the group, and Christina had paired us up with someone, and my partner was Lynn Panasco, and this is the layout that she shared with me. She shared several with me, but this is the one I chose to go ahead and scrap lift. So here is my version of it. And we have basically the same 4 photos. We've got the paper strips. The embellishing's a little different. This is definitely Lynn's style. It's very, it's sweet and it's cute. It's got nice pastels in it, which I like using those colors too, but I also enjoy using super bright colors. And I knew I would be using super bright colors for this particular layout because I built this layout based off of the paper that Christina had delivered to the event. I had her deliver 2 kits to me, and this one is using the this year's summer paper from Simple Stories. So that's the first layout that I did. Here's my second one. This one was not part of a challenge at all, just a fun layout to do. I'm documenting my daughter's 11th birthday. We took several of the girls, actually all of the girls in her Girl Scout troop, and her cousin was visiting from out of town. We took them to our cabin in the Sierras, and we went to the lake up there. Anyway, they just had a blast. So that's basically what these layouts are documenting. Now, all of this stuff was in my kit with the exception of this wood veneer. I knew I would be using these photos during the trip, so I brought the wood veneer because I thought it would go well with the water fight that they're having. Another one, basically same idea. This one is over at the lake near where our cabin is, and again, everything's from the kit that Christina built. This was actually left over from the mystery bag challenge, and that layout's a little bit further down in the stack, so you'll see that as well. This is a fun layout. I took pictures of the water balloons. They had a water balloon fight as well. I took pictures of the water balloons and blew them up, so that's why I really knew I wanted a lot of color on these layouts. And then we're playing this game that we do with water balloons and towels. Basically, you put the water balloon inside the towel and you kind of do like volleyball, and the people on the other side catch it in their towel and volley it back over to you. So that's what that was. And this is over at the lake. Now there's not a lot of journaling on these. I still have I think 1 or 2 spots to journal, and because this is my daughter's 11th birthday and she is now 23, there's some information that I wanted to get from her to put on these pages, so I didn't complete the journaling. I don't know if you noticed, but a couple layouts back here, I did journal some on this wavy card here, and that's just basically telling where we went, who went with us, and that type of stuff. So I have a spot here for journaling for this trip. I know one of her friends gave her a rock painting kit in this box, so I'll probably document that there. But I wanted to get her thoughts on some other things before I go ahead and put it in the book. And oftentimes, if I have a long series of photos that I'm scrapbooking, I will do the documenting at the end. Otherwise, sometimes I forget what I've documented because I do tend to do my layouts out of order. So I don't want to retell the same story on 2 pages. These are all still part of the same kit. I love these little cards that came, or journaling tags that came with it, and these little fringy bows. I never know what to do with these, but Sharon, who was sitting next to me, had used one on her page and it inspired me to go ahead and use them, and I thought this was a perfect place to put them. And I love how it turned out. And I think they were having a chugging contest here at the gas station that we stopped at, so they've each got either soda or some kind of Sobe juice or something like that. This is just playing games at our cabin, so same idea. None of these are related to any of the challenges. This particular layout is part of one of the classes that Christina held, and it was using acrylic paint as your layering or as your photo mats. And so we practiced on index cards, and then we went ahead and did it on our actual layout, and the entire thing basically was part of the class on how to do all of this. And then I just finished up embellishing it how I wanted. Super cute. And this particular photo is from a different scrapbooking retreat that I attend, and it's from, I think, 2016. I just happened to reach up, grab a photo out of my box, and it matched, so I got really lucky that way. It doesn't always work out so well, but in this case it worked out perfectly. Okay, this layout did not have a challenge associated with it, but the background, the cut file was cut while we were there. Somebody, I'm not even sure who started the trend, but somebody at the event wanted this background cut file for their layout. And I see I need to put some glue on this little heart. And then everybody, well, most everybody decided they needed it as well. And so I jumped in on the bandwagon and pulled out this really pretty ombre paper and cut it on there. And MK Gunn was amazing and cut all of these files for everybody while we were there. This is just an older photo of my daughter at Disneyland. So that one's that. I brought about maybe 3/4 of an inch of paper with me. The rest was all paper that I got in my kits. And so this particular piece of acetate has been in my kit for a while. It's from Maggie Holmes, and I've never known quite what to use it with, and so I decided to challenge myself and use it with these photos. These were taken, we took my mom and dad to the beach near our house on my mom's birthday for lunch. So this is just telling about her birthday. It was Friday after work. My husband and I both were off work early, and so we took them over for lunch. My mom loves the beach, and you sit right at the ocean. You can look right out at the water and everything on the patio and have lunch there. So that's what that is. This was another class that we did with Christina, and it was mostly like how to do the ripping of the paper for layering. And I believe her layout was turned this direction, and her floral piece would have been down here. But because my photo was not in the portrait, it was not a portrait photo, I decided to go ahead and use one that's in landscape. So I ended up backing my cut file because with all of the busyness of the papers back here, you would not be able to see it otherwise. If it had been turned this way, the cut file, you could see it really easily because all of the green poked through and it was just almost like a solid underneath. So anyway, that was my take on that one. That was fun. This is a double page layout. This is my daughter's 11th birthday again, but this is just her birthday at home, so cake and ice cream with the family, and we took her shopping. So that was not the trip that we did, but it was, I think, before the trip because her cousin's here visiting as well. Anyway, This one, Sharon, who was sitting next to me, challenged me to use one of those Fiskars crimpers, and the place we were at had several tools available, and that was one of the tools that they had, and I haven't seen one of those in years, so I was like, okay, sure, we'll put it on the page somewhere. But it worked out really well. Also, somebody gave me this washi tape at the retreat, so I wanted to go ahead and use that. It worked out perfectly because it matches the colors on the cake, the green and the pink and the yellows and blues. It fit perfectly. So I do believe these flowers were also in one of our swag bag pockets, and I think there's 3 or 4 other ones still left over, but I went ahead and used those. So I tried to use a little bit of everything that I had. Okay, this particular one was a challenge, and we got these wonderful sketchbooks. We had some custom sketches made for our retreat, and we were challenged to use a sketch out of our sketchbook. So I used one from Crafty Maggie Blethen, and I used this one, and I basically turned it this direction because my photos were going that direction. So there it is, side by side. And this is my son. He's helping with the flag ceremony at Cub Scout camp many, many years ago, since he is now 20 and no longer a small boy. So I also played with a stamp set that Lynn Panasco, who was sitting behind me, had, and these are from Bo Bunny, and they were a lot of fun layering stamps. So that was a fun one to do. This was not part of a challenge, but this was also using the second kit that Christina had brought for me. So actually both of these layouts use the same kit. It's the Cocoa Vanilla Boys Rule, and I absolutely love this paper. I did cut into a lot of my papers, but I wanted to leave this star paper whole, and so this is just actually a portrait photo. It is portrait in orientation, but it was a portrait from a portrait studio, and my son's outfit happened to match perfectly with the stars, so I wanted to go ahead and get that on there. And this, I'm going to do some journaling in here just about his personality at this age and things like that. So that was a fun one. This one I do not believe was part of a challenge, but it is a double pager. Also Cub Scout camp, my son using a rifle and shooting a bow and arrow, and then he was also doing a little bit of leadership and announcing some stuff. So that was a fun layout to do. This was actually the first 2 papers that I cut into, and so I didn't want to use them as full sheets because I only had 1 of each, and I wanted to have a little bit left over to do some layering in other places. So I also got this Shimmers Oaky Berry Blue in my kit, and that's what this blue watercolor that's kind of shimmery is. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but that was that one. Okay, this is another class that Christina did, and it was mixed media and layering. So we started out with the watercolor using the baby wipe. She has a YouTube video on this, and I'll try and link it down below. And then we used some Tonic, it's their Nuvo Mousse, embellishment mousse, and that's what the little orange dots are. We used them with stencils. We've also got some washi tape layered up there, and then we stitched on the sequins. So this is just another photo I happen to have. This was taken at our cabin during my daughter's birthday. When we first got there, there were all of these exoskeletons of these bugs up there, so we got a really good picture. You can see all of the little hairs on its legs and whatnot. So that was kind of fun. Okay, so this one was a challenge for me, but it really was a challenge that I believe Christy from Christy's Beautiful Life challenged us to swap something and use it. So MK, who was sitting across from me, had these chipboard spark plugs, and I had chipboard fairies. So we swapped, and it worked out perfectly because I happened to have photos of my husband and I working on changing the master cylinder in our Jeep. I wasn't sure how this was going to come out because these papers are papers I brought. They're not, they do work with these photos, but they're a little bit on the feminine side for everything that we're doing. but then MK also had this stencil and the Nuvo mousse, so I went ahead and borrowed that from her, and borrowed a little bit more mixed media stuff from Crystal and Amber. So that's Crystal Barrett at Pineapple Papers. She has a channel as well. Anyway, and then messed up the hearts and the spark plug so that it looks more metally. I don't even think that's a word, but more metallic. Anyway, so that's that, and then I just did a little bit of journaling down here about what we're doing. This was the mystery bag challenge. So in our mystery bag we had 10 items. We had this gold fiber, this blue fiber. There is a little bag back here. There's this white, I don't even know what this is made out of. It's a little bit of a plasticky kind of material, but not really plastic. I don't even know how to describe that. Anyway, I colored it with my Copic markers, so now it's pink. We had labels. We had this frame, which I cut in half. We had the tag, these rhinestones, the butterfly wood veneer, and there's a paint chip, this turquoise or aqua paint chip that's in the background. So all of those things were on our list of things that came in our mystery bag. And then I actually did use the mystery bag. I backed the frame with it so that some of the other things wouldn't show through so much, so that the wood veneer would pop a little bit more. So that's my mystery bag challenge. And this is also up at our cabin. We get these giant dandelions, or I believe they're called mountain dandelions, but they're like this big around. They're not those little tiny ones. They're huge. And then I have a place to document that here in the background. So, okay, this one, this was a cut it up challenge, and it was a challenge to use a cut file. And I took the easy road out and used a very simple cut file. I only had a few spots to go because I had really just done the one prior on this layout, and I didn't want to, literally I was actually still finishing that layout when this one came out. So I was like, okay, let me do something that's a little more simple. And so this is at the lake at our cabin, using the same Simple Stories papers. Actually, I think this turquoise background is not from Simple Stories, it's from something else, but these two the rest of it came in my kit. And then these wonderful little feathers, MK had brought as a gift for everyone. She brought different little embellishments, and they are flexible. They're flexible, and they're made out of some kind of caulking. And using, I believe, a fondant mold. Anyway, they're super cool. They look great on the layout. I love the texture of them. So that was that layout. Then we had a challenge. We each got a copy of Scrapbook and Cards Today left on our beds, and the challenge was to find something inside this magazine to inspire you. So the first thing I did was flip it open to this page. And I said, okay, well, that's the one I'm gonna use, because I actually had a bunch of photos from my son's Cub Scout camp already out, and I knew it was gonna be a double page layout, so I said, perfect, that'll be it. So here's my finished layout, and here's the original. The original is actually pocket pages. I did not use pocket pages, and you can see my photos are not exactly square where they have perfect squares, but you totally get the same kind of effect from it, and it was tons of fun. I really enjoyed that challenge. I love getting a lot of photos on my layouts, and this is all still paper from the Boys Rule collection from Coco Vanilla, and all of the embellishments came in that kit. So I love how that turned out. And then this challenge was a dice challenge where we each had a set of dice, and we could roll 2 dice, and Christina would hold up a card, and we had to pick, if we rolled a 2, you got number 2 that was on the card. But since we had 2 dice, if you rolled a 2 and a 3, you got to choose between number 2 and 3. Well, 3 out of the 4 times I rolled doubles, so I don't know what that says about gambling. I should have probably been out gambling at that time, but anyway, so I know I rolled squares, and so I have a square here, and then I had a frame that was a square, but I cut it in half, so now it's no longer a square, but it did start out as a square. I had sequins, and I had not American crafts. So some of the other options were something new, something old, something borrowed, so you had to get paper or something from somebody else in the group, and then not American crafts. So I used Cocoa Vanilla, and this was my previous kit, which is More Than Words, and I love the papers. This is a photo of me as a baby and my daughter as a baby. I was 4 months old, she's 9 months old. Most people who look at it say you can't really tell the difference between the two of us except for the age of the photo. And so I wanted to go ahead and document that, and so I've documented us here. And I can't remember what the 4th item was in the challenge, but I know I did meet the 4th item. I just can't remember now that I'm home what it was. So that one's done. This was not a challenge. Well, it was challenging, but it was not a challenge. So I started out with that Oaky Berry Blue Shimmers product and this beautiful cut file. Christina had brought a bunch of cut files for us to use, and that's where I got this. And I used a bunch of scraps to back the cut file, and I also did some stitching, so there was a little bit of leftover paper from that star paper that I really liked, and when you put it behind the actual stars you couldn't see it pop out because they're both predominantly, well, the cut file's white, but the other paper's predominantly white. So I went ahead and stitched those in just a few spots. And this is my daughter and my son. My son was just like 2 or 3 months old. I didn't write it down on the back anyway. Yeah, I have it documented. I just have to finish my journaling here. So the title says, "There is no other like my little brother." And I wanted to document how much she just really enjoyed him as a little, having him as a little brother from day one. And they've been close ever since. So that was a really fun one. And then last but certainly not least, this was called Pass It On, this challenge. And we were to pull a photo and a background paper out of our stash. And I have this photo from Yosemite, and I had this in a full sheet. It's this, I think it's from, I want to say it's from Heart Day, but I could be totally wrong on that. Anyway, it's hearts that have the black specks on it. It's really cute. And then we took it and we had to give it to somebody else. We had all drawn colors out of a bag, and so we made a small team. We had to give it to somebody else on our team to actually start, and then we had a certain amount of time, and then we had to pass it on to the next person. So this was my completed layout that came back to me. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. I had Sandy, who is State Goddess on YouTube, and Crystal Barrett, who is Pineapple Papers, and Tracy Rancier. I don't know if I'm saying your last name correct, Tracy, but she's also on YouTube under her own name. And this is how it came back. It's absolutely beautiful. I think it was probably, in my own opinion, the most beautiful one there. They did a fabulous job. So that's it. That's my 27 layouts. And thank you so much for watching. I don't normally do layout shares. If you do like layout shares, leave me a note down below. Maybe I'll try and do a few more of those. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed already, go ahead and hit subscribe as well if you'd like to see a little bit more. Thanks again for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.